Virginia native Denny Hamlin already has 16 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series wins. 8 of them came 1 year ago. Matter of fact, he comes into this Martinsville Speedway as the driver who has won 3 consecutive times.
Boardwalk off the racetrack. Here comes Kenseth to the inside with Hamlin following.
They bang hard, and here comes Kenseth 3 wide to the bottom. Kenseth to the inside takes the lead. He's got a tire down. He goes to the outside and hits the wall, and Denny Hamlin takes the lead. Out of nowhere, Denny Hamlin, checkered flag set to fly. Unbelievable, it's Denny Hamlin heading for home.
Mike Ford, you are the man. To quote a famous baseball broadcaster, I can't believe what I just saw.
And a pleasure to welcome Denny Hamlin, another Virginia native, to Trackside, presented by Walmart. Glad you're with us, man.
It's good to be here.
You have to really be glad to be here.
Oh yeah.
Because the way things have been going, this could be good medicine for Denny Hamlin.
I can't tell you how comfortable I feel driving through here. It's just it's amazing. It's just no matter what's happened the first 5 races or whatever, it's just you come here and it's like, feels good to be home.
Magic.
Yeah.
Well, when you mentioned the first 5 races, I mean, it's not really the year the way you wanted to start it off, but you could turn it around pretty quick here if you could get the thing back to victory lane and keep this streak going. And I know you guys have talked about it, but after last week, I mean, really, what were you thinking?
I was definitely scratching my head for sure. I mean, but I tell you, I can't believe I can, because I've been around them long enough now, but the commitment that Joe Gibbs Racing has to fixing any issues that they have. I mean, Joe stayed in California. He went to TRD that night and stayed there throughout the night trying to figure out what was going on with these engines. And so he's working hard at it. I know that for sure. But in the grand scheme of things, you look at it, and we're really right where we were last year at this time. So it's not too alarming. We know we can make up the distance in the next 20 races, but you definitely don't want to start out that way for sure.
Denny, Jimmy Makar was on Race Hub this week, and he was very forthcoming, about the engine problems. And he said, we don't think it's any one consistent thing, but do you feel like coming in here today that you do have them pinpointed?
I hope so. Obviously it's all kind of boils down to valve train issues. So for us last year, don't know what, broke a valve or something like that, or last week, but we're just working hard on it. A lot of the problems it looks like we've had so far have been actual parts that we get to put it into our engines. Those have been bad batch of parts. So hopefully that's the biggest root of our issue. It's not the way we're actually building them.
I got good news though, because Johnson, Harvick, and Kenseth were outside the top 25 after Daytona, and now all of them are in the top 10. So you can catch back up in a hurry. This new point system is not as bad as it maybe think it is.
And actually, it's actually even better, because from my standpoint, if for some reason we don't get in the top 10 for some reason, you can go out there and win the last 2-3 races before the chase and still get in. So
good point.
It's you're never out of it. I like this system.
I do too.
When we come back, a lot more with Denny Hamlin, including a season last year that was oh so close to being a championship season. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. His crew chief Mike Ford will join us. There's a look at Denny Hamlin winning at Texas. Trackside is presented by Walmart. We're live at the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia. Denny Hamlin won 8 times in 2010, yet to some people the season was just a bit disappointing. Just 39 points behind the eventual champion, Jimmy Johnson. But it was a season where Denny Hamlin overcame adversity, racing and winning after having knee surgery.
Denny Hamlin, right place, right time. Hamlin delivers in Texas.
If this is the toughest track we go to, this cat has tamed it.
Denny Hamlin kissing the field goodbye.
And he will post his 4th win of the 2010 season. Can you say red hot? That describes Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin putting himself at the top of the leaderboard going into the chase.
7th win of the year, 3rd in a row at Martinsville. Denny Hamlin.
That was awesome, Denny. We're back, baby.
Denny Hamlin is going to make a statement saying, if the drive for 5 is alive, you're going to have to come through me.
That's the way to win it, baby.
at everything. And although finishing 12th at Phoenix didn't drop Hamlin from the top of the charts, it put him well within the reach of a 4-time champion and placed him in the middle of a fight of his life.
Oh, trouble, and it involves Hamlin. The championship points leader goes around, and can he save it? Caution is out.
We're going to need to work on the splitter. We need some braces. Everybody breathe. Including me.
Mike Ford said stay out, then he said pit, 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 and then he said too late. They missed it.
Well, Hamlin's in a bad spot here right now. Jimmy has pulled away from him. The championship is going to go to Jimmy Johnson.
Hamlin may have lost the title this time, but often it's in losing that we truly learn to win. And in the face of bitter disappointment, Denny Hamlin carried himself with a grace and maturity that proved far more than any title or trophy, that within this young man breathes the soul of a champion.
I know every year I'm going to be better than I was the previous year, so we're going to take this FedEx team, we're going to keep working, and go get them next year.
You know, Denny, last year as the season started, I don't think you had high expectations. I mean, you always think you can win a championship, but there wasn't any pressure on you when the season started. But as the season wore on, you became a factor, looked like you had the thing wrapped up almost. So expectations started to really increase, pressure started to increase. Things don't start off all that great this year. How do you keep your spirits up? Because I just feel like that losing that championship and then starting the year the way you have, it's got to have been tough on you emotionally and mentally to keep yourself pumped up.
It does. I mean, it takes its toll for sure. But, you know, I know one thing this weekend that can make it all better for sure. But
ding dong.
It's just one of those things, you know. It's a lot of athletes go through this kind of time in their career. You know, when a championship slips away from them, I feel like, and even some of the great ones, you know, before they won their championships, had to go through things like that. And you know, in Phoenix, you know, even though by the statistics it was lost in Homestead, it was, you know, it put us back in the lion's cage after Phoenix, and that's what was so tough. And it didn't give us that cushion to have a bad race where we could have, no matter what, after Phoenix, had we just finished where we should have finished, you know, even with the wreck, it didn't matter. We still would have won the championship. But you can't think about that. I got to think about what put us in a bad spot, qualifying bad. What can I do to be better? Work on qualifying. Work on my worth ethic on the race car, and all those different things that I feel like won't put me back in those same situations again. Hopefully, when it comes back around, I just go to Homestead and I crank my motor and take a championship home.
Denny, I talked to, I mentioned this the other day on Race Hub. I talked to the gentleman that has been working as your personal trainer, and he's worked with, you know, guys that played with the New York Mets and professional hockey players. And I was blown away. He said that you work harder than any other professional athlete he's ever worked with. That's quite a compliment.
Well, I just try to identify my weaknesses all the time. I'm my own worst critic. I'll always be my own worst critic. No one will ever put any more pressure on me than what I'm going to put on myself at any time. So, you know, I feel like I'm supposed to be the best. I'm going to do everything I can to be the best. And if I don't have it in raw talent, then I'm going to try to do it by working harder than the guy that does have the most talent. So, I'll just do the best I can, and that's all I can do.
Did you grow up with that work ethic, or have you talked to somebody that's helped you kind of shape that mental toughness? I mean, because we saw your mental toughness last year with your knee. I mean, you pretty much defied a lot of people's expectations by getting the surgery and coming right back and showing how really tough you were.
I just thrive on challenges. Throughout my career, whenever I've been, you know, faced with adversity, whether it's be not have the money to go to the next race on a local, you know, to South Boston or whatever track you want to talk about, it's just we find a way to fight through. We find a way to make it to the next race. And it's the same thing after Homestead. You find a way to make it to Daytona and have a positive outlook.
Well, speaking of challenges, what are you going to be doing Saturday afternoon?
Well, hopefully I'm going to be watching these VCU Rams continue their run. Can't say how proud I am of those guys, and of course, you know, I'm from right there in Richmond, so it's so exciting for me. Obviously, Austin Payton, the guy who's my right-hand man at Fuel Management, he graduated from VCU. So
Did what you did earlier.
This would be a good final, just as long as it kind of ends up.
No, my boys are on a roll.
They are. They are well coached. We've seen that.
And you play a lot of basketball, don't you?
I do. Not a professional or not good by any means, but I do play a lot.
Well, I don't, you know, you're from Virginia, I'm from Kentucky. We obviously have something at stake this weekend. I'm going to challenge you to a little shoot-off right over here.
A shootout?
A shootout. A shootout.
All right.
Yeah. What do you think?
Are you up for it, Denny?
I could try. I can do it. I think I can.
All right.
Give me my hat.
He wants a Kentucky hat. All right, it's Kentucky against VCU here on Trackside. Well, the national championship game could come down to Virginia Commonwealth, represented by Mr. Hamlin, and Kentucky, represented by Mr. Waltrip. So we're going to have a little advanced shootout.
It could come down to free throws. I guess it's kind of.
Can I just say off stage, y'all have been practicing, and I haven't had a shot yet.
DW gets 5 free throws.
Take one.
Take one.
All right.
Take a shot.
And Denny gets 5. All right.
Okay, you've had a shot now.
Wait a minute. Who said you got to go? Go ahead and go first.
The guy in my ear.
Oh, okay.
Oh, 0 for 1.
Brick.
0 for 2.
I never missed one in practice.
Oh.
You counting, Steve?
He's 0 for 3.
Oh.
0 for 4.
Daryl.
Money ball. Money ball.
Focus.
Oh, 1 for 5. All right, Denny Hamlin has to 1 to tie and 2 to win for the honor of the VCU Rams.
This looks a little further than
it
regular.
Do what you normally do. Work on his head.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh! There it is. He tied.
He's off to. I think I'm gonna have to challenge.
Do you want to quit?
No, I don't. He hadn't.
One more wins it.
Shoot yet.
One more wins it for VCU. Oh! It's over.
Oh
I'm
man.
telling you. I'm
Oh,
telling you.
Go ahead. Let me know.
Take all 5.
Show him how to
I don't know if I can do that.
2 for 2.
Pressure.
It's Oh!
Nice arc.
That
2
was
for
close.
3.
That was close.
Nice backspin.
Gosh.
2 for
Shoot
4.
off. We're gonna have to have a shoot off.
Should have stopped at 2.
He just wanted enough to beat me. That's all he wanted.
Oh, that's off 2.
It's like Daryl used to say.
Let me see it,
That's
Bert.
enough to win the turkey,
Let me see
right?
it.
That's right. That's
All right, you
that's
got it.
One more for the championship.
One more for the championship. Hey, your championship was settled.
Oh.
All right, let's play shirts versus skins.
No.
2-on-2.
I want Denny Hamlin on my team.
Hey,
Why, he only hit one more than I did.
I know that's true.
That's enough to win.
hey, how'd you get to be buddies with Michael Jordan? How did that whole relationship come about? I know you're a Bobcats fan.
Yeah, it turned out really well, but just met him, through golf tournaments and stuff that I've, different charity stuff that we've done through the Bobcats, and I met him outside the tunnel at a Bobcat game one time. He was like, "Hey man, I'm actually a really good race fan. What happened last week? We had something going on, but I was like, you really watch races?" He's like, "Yeah, I watch them every weekend." So
He's a North Carolina guy.
yeah,
But
so
doesn't he have a motorcycle team?
he does. He's actually been in racing now for about 6 years or so. So he is a big race fan and always look for an opportunity to get into racing. And he felt like I was his bridge to do that.
Listen, nice job there on the shots. I need a little more practice, but hopefully the game won't come down to a free throw.
Well, I got faith in the boys at VCU. If it comes down to the free throws, we're good.
I like their coach. Pretty spiffy.
He's pretty smart.
Yeah, he is.
Shaka smart.
But Coach Cal, Calipari, he's a pretty smart guy. Got a bunch of freshmen out there playing like pros.
All that looks good, but the thing is right now, I'm glad that you stick with what you do.
Hey, you get over here and shoot one.
And
Get over here and shoot one.
I know better. I'm not going to
Watch
prove
Bird.
that I can't shoot
Watch
basketball.
Birds.
I don't have to prove.
Look at that form. I mean,
He's good.
He's actually got the best form of anyone I've
Got the
seen.
spin on it.
Oh.
See,
All right.
I know that.
Okay, enough.
All right, with that, we're going to go.
And welcome back to Trackside. Tonight, we're from Martinsville Speedway here in Martinsville, Virginia. One of the most spectacular, fantastic races you could ever come to as far as NASCAR is concerned. One of the original 8 when they started NASCAR way back in the 40s. And tonight, I'm being joined by one of my buddies, Mike Ford, right here. And Mike, the thing that's so funny is that you started way back when I did. First job right there working with Kyle Petty and Felix Sabatis right there. You guys were able to win at Rockingham. And right after that, you wound up being a jack man on the 88 car. You're working for Dale Jarrett. You guys won a lot of races, the Daytona 500. And here you are probably with one of your most, I guess, prestigious wins, working with Ray Evernham right there. You're kissing the bricks right there with Bill Elliott. I mean, buddy, you've been around a long time. Now you find yourself working for the coach, Gibbs Racing, and your buddy right there, Denny Hamlin. You guys had a great 2010. Been a little tough in 2011, though.
Yeah, looking back, you don't realize how long you've been around because you're continually moving. But looking back at that stuff, correct you. I was a kid then, and I know you were crew chief in there. But
careful now. I know you're a little younger than I am.
Yeah, I went straight out of school and a little bit of tech school and went racing from there. So I've made a life of working in this garage. So yeah, it's been a ride, but. We had a close season last year. I think one of the only teams to compete with the 48 down the stretch. But the start of this season hasn't been what we wanted. But you look back to all the other seasons that we've run with Denny, and we never got off to a good start with those either. And it seems like Martinsville is a place we usually turn it around. Now you talk about how long you've been around the sport. Who was your biggest influence? Who was your biggest helper as far as getting you? Did you start out wanting to be a crew chief? I played sports throughout my life, all the way up till the end of high school, and very competitive. Wanted to be in sports. Those avenues wound down, but I was always a car freak. Worked on stuff since I was 10 years old. So the avenue opened up. My family moved to the Carolinas, and I got a job with Gary Nelson at Sabco when it first started up. So as soon as I got a taste of it, I saw the flicks on Speed a little bit ago of the races. The Darrell and Rusty deal was my first race in '89. So really? that was exciting. So once I saw that, it's like absolutely, yeah, this is what I want to do. Well, Steve and Darrell, I mean, the thing is right now we're sitting there looking at old tapes, and me and him kind of like reminiscing a little bit, but Darrell, you and I had a lot of history here at this racetrack, and right now these two guys, as far as driver and crew chief, they're making it happen here at Martinsville. Yeah, they really are. They're putting the pressure on what you and I did and what everybody else has done here lately. But you know what I like? I like the way you two guys stick together. You got his back, he's got yours. You don't work against each other. You work for each other, and that's the chemistry you got to have to overcome. Everybody's got it made in the good times. It's some bad times when you really have to really rely on each other to get through them. And you guys seem to have that. Well, yeah, I think we just take our constructive criticism well, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm the first one to admit, when I feel like I've done something messed up, and he's the first one to tell me when I have. So it's you appreciate that because it reassures you that you are working on the right things. We'll have a lot more with Denny Hamlin and Mike Ford. And Mike and Jeff will join us here on the stage. We'll just have a big old Friday night party here on Trackside. And we are back. Steve Burns, Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond hanging out with Denny Hamlin and Mike Ford. I was curious, going down the stretch drive last year, you didn't shy away at all from that 48 team. And people kind of looked at it and said, well, why is Mike poking the bear? But I don't know if I looked at it that way. I think it was just you saying, we've got a good race team, and we're not going to back down. I mean, what was your philosophy? Yeah, absolutely. I think, you play underdog a lot, and sometimes you just get tired of it. And I didn't degrade the 48, but it made it sound like that afterwards. I just said, this team is strong. We're competing with them, and we'll go toe-to-toe with them. I felt like we at that point had what we needed to win a championship. Obviously it didn't pan out, but it wasn't because we were looking at the wrong things. We were still working on our race cars, and our pit crew had gone through a stretch where they weren't very good, and you want to kind of motivate them a little bit, and it wasn't to poke fun at anyone. It was just confidence in what you have. My favorite picture from last year, Mike, is you in Texas when you had on that cowboy hat.
it looked about as bad as this does on me.
Yeah, the white hat in the spring was much better than the black.
That was a good-looking hat.
Yeah.
It looked like he just robbed a bank.
Yeah.
You know what he was saying? He was laughing. He said, he kind of reminds me of Howdy Doody.
Yeah.
It's like, I said, well, you're off of me, at least. That's a good thing.
No. But how bad is Jimmy Johnson in everybody's head? I mean, I talked to Kevin Harvick, and he said he put 48-48 in his telephone code. Seems like Jimmy Johnson's got Jimmy and Chad together. And that's why we wanted you to be here tonight, because you can speak to that side of it. How bad is it, those guys in everybody's head?
Yeah, I think everybody's different. I can speak for myself and say not at all. I'm a guy that sticks to what we've got. I don't worry about anybody else's stuff. I don't worry about what anyone else is doing. I try and pinpoint what we need to work on and stay on that, so that you're not in the media and seeing what's going on and looking at the results. You strictly, the science and math of it is what excites me, and the mind games I don't really get into. So I think obviously looking up and down the garage area, it's playing havoc on a lot of people, but I think everybody handles that a little differently.
What about you, Denny? Does he get in your head? Do you think at those last 2 or 3 races there at the end of the year, what were you thinking about?
Well, I was most angry about letting them back in the championship hunt. That was my biggest thing. But because obviously they do have experience, and they've maximized everything that they could. I feel like they've really didn't necessarily have the best race cars all year long through this 4-year stretch or 5-year stretch, but they've made the best of it, and they've won championships regardless. So that part of it you always think about, because they've always gotten the most out of what they have, and so that part of it's good. I mean, myself, I admire it quite a bit, the way he handles himself on and off the racetrack, and so for myself, it's more about respect than anything.
Well, the thing I want to know, Denny, do you have basically the same philosophy that your crew chief has? Because I'm going to read you a quote here that he puts out there. When the race starts, everyone is my enemy. I mean, is that correct, Mike?
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody's my enemy. I got no friends.
They're trying to take food off my kid's plate.
Yeah, we saw it. I think we saw it the first lap of last weekend, actually, with me and Kyle.
Oh yeah, how did that work out?
Yeah, he was mad. I was running on his door. I said, well, what the hell did you stick me 3 wide in the middle in the first lap for? So yeah, it doesn't matter. We get along off the racetrack and everything, but we get on each other's nerves a little bit on the racetrack, no matter whether we're teammates or not.
Mike, but one thing, I always thought about you as being a very low-keyed, soft-spoken, never really get too riled up about anything. But at the end of last year, you were getting up on the chip a little bit. You were getting a little froggy there at the end of the year. That seemed out of character to me for you.
No, not at all. I learned when I first became a crew chief that you set the tone for the rest of the guys. And I'm not a laid-back guy. That's a learned habit. That's not natural. I'm kind of quiet and soft-spoken, but I take this very serious. And when it comes down to it, I'll fight.
Denny, I've said.
I like that.
Yeah. Buddy Baker had a great way of putting it. I said, did you have friends that were competitors, fellow race car drivers? And he said, Burns, I had a very simple philosophy. I take my money to my house, you take your money to your house.
No doubt, no doubt. You don't want to see anyone take away your trophies, that's for sure. And that one right there, that one belonged to my house too. So we got to go get it.
That big one over there?
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind that one either.
This one, yeah.
This one over here. Yeah, you got your eyes on there. Yeah, that one over there and this one over here.
I'll be honest with you, I've been wanting to touch that trophy for so long, but it is bad luck.
Yep.
So you can never do it. So gosh, I came so close to Homestead last year. It's just wanting to set my hand on it, but you can't do it, not until you win it.
Here's the bad news. Jimmy Johnson was on the show last week, and he had 5 of them sitting in front of him.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, I know. He probably drinks out of them.
Mike,
probably eats out of them.
Mike, when the season ended, did you I know that, Denny, you said you took some time off just to kind of put it in the rear view. How did you recalibrate?
Truthfully, the off season for me personally was not very good. So it took me until going to Daytona to recalibrate, and the first day down there I had to fly back home. So, you know, the whole offseason, it didn't end at Homestead for me. I mean, there was some bad news all throughout. So it took me getting back racing to recalibrate.
When you say that, do you feel like right now that you guys, even though you've had this slow start, I ain't going to say it's been a bad start, it's just been a slow start for y'all, you got it behind you and you're ready to, like this weekend, to get it going, like, you know, get to victory lane and move on?
Yeah, the encouraging thing is you go back and look at the first 5 races, and you look at Daytona, and we had a shot at winning that race. You know, down to the end, we were competitive. You know, swapping back and forth, and depending on who you got with, and we got in a wreck with 2 or 3 laps to go. Typical Daytona type stuff. So we had a car capable of winning that race. We go to Phoenix, we had, you know, top 10 car, and had a bad pit stop at the end of the day that cost us a top 10 and ended up 11th. And then we go to Vegas and we end up 7th, but we had to start in the back, and that was the worst track position race of the year. And I think we had a better car than 7th. So, you know, and you know, it goes from there. We had, you know, Bristol, another crash right away, and then, you know, last week an engine. But those were top 5, top 10 cars. So we've put out good stuff, and the encouraging thing is we're coming to a string of racetracks that we know we can win on.
Yeah, they own them.
Yeah, get you another one of those cowboy hats.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, you guys certainly played like champions. Best of luck the rest of the season. Thanks for spending some time with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Denny's not off the hook yet, but we appreciate you spending time.
Sounds good.
You're not sure who has what it takes to get into victory lane this weekend? Well, check out your Sunoco performance picks on NASCAR Race Day this Sunday, 10:30 a.m. live here on Speed.
Camping World and Good Sam. One great company with a complete...
New master of Martinsville, Denny Hamlin.
You know what your average finish is here? It's like 2.
Yeah. Well, I crashed and finished 30-something my first time here. Me and Mark Martin got into it. I learned pretty quick, don't get into it with Mark Martin.
The old man will put you down.
Yeah.
No, I think in the last 9 races, your average finish is like 2.4. You and Jimmy Johnson are right there. He's 2.8 over the last 9 races. And by the way, you and he are the only 2 guys that's won here over the last 9 races. That's amazing.
Especially at a track where it's so easy to get in trouble.
I know.
You know, it's, I mean, you're beating and banging into each other. How we've not had, you know, bad luck on the same day, you know.
And I wish I was going to ask Mike, when he called you in here last year and putting 4 tires on you, and you were sitting in about, what were you, about 10th?
We were 9th with 4 laps to go.
4 laps to go. What did you think? What were you complaining?
No, I didn't. You know, I agreed with him when we did pit, but when I came out and I was like, "Are you serious?" All these other guys stayed out. I was like,
now,
well, we just gave this one away. And you can see, watching crew members here at the end of the pit stop, they're just like,
"What are we
doing?
It.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
See you later."
Go on.
Yeah. Oh, well.
So it wasn't too exciting until the last few laps. And obviously a lot of things worked out there. You know, Jeff Gordon was probably 100 yards away from the start-finish line before when the crash happened. And so it just, things worked out in our favor for once.
Speaking of things working out in your favor, looks like you're going to have a pretty impressive charity race coming up at Richmond here in just a few weeks at the end of April. They've moved the charity race now from South Boston, South Side, I'm sorry, to the Richmond Raceway. So tell us about what's going to go on there. And then you got some big names racing that night.
Yeah, we look forward to it, and hopefully all these fans that come to Martinsville every year will be able to make it. But it's Thursday, April 28th. We're going to have it the same night as the K&N race.
It's on Speed, too,
and
8 o'clock.
The exciting part is we just we got it locked in this week to where it's going to be live on Speed. But
righty, baby.
We obviously would love everyone to show up in person. Obviously, the proceeds at the front gate will go to the Denny Hamlin Foundation. But you know, Tony Stewart and Joe Logano and your brother Michael and Trevor Bain and we've got a lot. Casey Kane. We got just a bunch of race drivers that's going to be racing in this. It's going to be 75 laps, late models around the big track.
You want me to bring Darrell? Can you find a car for him?
I can drive the pace car. I can be honorary starter. I can do anything. I just can't drive the car.
There you go. Actually, we need you for the honorary starter.
There you go. All right, DW, honorary starter.
I'll be there.
All right.
I can do that.
I parlayed you right into a deal.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad we got you a job.
I'm good. I was getting a little nervous. All those big names, you know.
Hamlin's charity race at Richmond International on April 28th. You'll see that on Speed. The charities involved there include cystic fibrosis and the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And Denny, I know you've got some special charitable events, or I guess foundations coming up that would benefit from some new paint schemes.
Yeah, definitely. We're excited about it. Josh and Jake from Texas, they're actually from the Texas local area there, came to the shop and we gave them a blank race car, and they got to design their paint scheme. So they had fun drawing on the car and doing all kinds of different stuff and helping us figure out how we're going to design this paint scheme. He said he wanted some fire up on the top of the roof.
That's your kind of guy, DW.
I like flames.
But they're successful babies from the March of Dimes. They were born obviously premature, and obviously you see how exciting and healthy their lives are now.
It's really cool how Toyota has come, with their Sponsor Fire program, how that's worked out. It's created a lot of interest in these kids and the sponsors, your FedEx, willing to let you do that with the car. That's really neat when the sponsors are all involved and let you do that. It
does, and a lot of the charity that I have through the Denny Hamlin Foundation is because of the things I've seen firsthand through doing the FedEx stuff. I've gotten to go to so many different children's hospitals all over the country to see kids that are leading successful lives and still fighting today. Would love to go to racetrack, but they can't because they're ill. But that's where this money is really getting put to good use. And obviously FedEx, to be able to give up their race car for a weekend in Texas to the March of Dimes and raise awareness is it's a great feeling for myself.
Kind of like along the same lines, but how does it feel to be an actor? I mean, because all of a sudden you're doing these charity programs, but more importantly, I watched the shaving commercial the other day with you and Kyle, where you guys all of a sudden you pop your heads up out of these tables. I mean, it's like,
It's been interesting for sure. We've done, obviously, with the Sponsor Fire, I've gotten to do some interesting commercials for Toyota. And so it's been, the fan reaction's been worth it all for sure. It's been exciting, and so we get to do some fun stuff.
Take a look behind the scenes.
I love.
Nice suit. Really nice.
You like that?
Oh, yeah. Really sweet. Oh, and I like the collar, too. How's that? What, does the team get involved? Do they have to wear all that, too?
Well, if you're going to drive for Toyota, you got to have thick skin. You got to understand that they're going to come up. Their creative department's going to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he ought to know that right there. The guy who puts tattoos on people. Daryl Walton, tattoos.
Yeah,
they don't go together.
Where's your Kyle Busch tattoo?
I know. I put it on other people. I don't. You
were the artist. He was the artist.
I got the pen, baby. I do the pen.
Want to get a UK tattoo, don't you?
I got it right now.
Denny, thanks for spending time with us on this Friday night, man.
I'll see you next Friday night.
Hey, I'll see y'all Monday night.